Welcome to the Serpentine Creative Channel. I'm your host, Stella Williams, and you're watching Serpentine Reads. Hey guys! So today on Serpentine Reads, I am going to be discussing two of the three books that off-topic books that I mentioned in my TBR for Blackathon. The first of which being Binti. And on my TBR, I said that I was only going to read the first Binti, but it turned out to be short enough that I ended up reading the entire trilogy as well as the Binti story that was in here. And I will say that I enjoyed this book. Obviously, I had no issues with finishing it. I was really intrigued with the world that was created. I liked the nod to polyamory. And again, I'm a romance author, so I'm going to read romance into every situation. Just FYI, I'm not sure if that was the author's intent, but that was just kind of how I was reading into this. And I wanted to say that I was a little intrigued because usually when I think of YA fantasy novels, I think of these like massive tomes, and like this didn't feel like that to me, in a sense that like it was written very much like short stories would be, and they are shorter books. So the first book, Binti, is really just your introduction, and I loved the conflict that was built between Binti and the Medusa, and her being kind of like their liaison, and just kind of her adjusting to who she is outside of the world that she's known her entire life. And the second book in this version happened to be the brand new Binti story, which goes into a little bit more into Binti's personal feelings about the changes that she's experiencing through this journey, and in being away from her family. And basically they go into like the desert, and she has this kind of like soul searching moment and this connection with characters that are somewhat pivotal to the other two books. But I mean, I don't want to go too much into detail because I don't want it to be super spoilery. I'm all about not spoiling things for people. So granted, this book has been out for a while. The trilogy's been out for a while. This has been on my TBR for a really long time, and there's a million reviews out about this book. Me personally, I enjoyed it. It was shorter than I thought, but not in a way where I felt like I was missing anything. So yes, overall, this was a really good read. I'm glad that I finally got around to getting through it. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on Binti, book number 1, I guess through 4 or 3.5 of my Blackathon reads. And these are off-topic reads. These are not my typical paranormal romance reads. Just reiterating that again. And next, what I read was Homegoing. I actually read this before I read Binti, but I figured I would start with Binti because it is the larger book. And I really enjoyed Homegoing. I enjoyed the supernatural element of it. I enjoyed seeing the progression of the two family lines and how the history of each line affected the next generation, and then having those two family lines converge again at the end. I would say that if I had any criticism about this book, it would be that when it got to the more modern generations, that everything kind of felt rushed through and like just like super kind of like depressing. Like I felt like it was like there was almost this feel of like there was no hope for the two lines at certain points. I don't know. I don't know if that makes any sense. But anyway, overall, I really enjoyed this book. I do suggest reading it. It's very insightful, and like touched on things that as a Black woman I really could relate with and empathize with. But yes, I enjoyed this book. Definitely suggest it along with Binti. And I said I wasn't going to talk about the third book because it is a poetry book. But obviously it didn't take me too long to read through this, and I did enjoy this one as well, but it's a poetry book, so I can't really talk too much about it without it spoiling the experience. But I will say that if you are interested in poetry, if you're interested in poetry by Black women with a whimsical perspective on some very deep topics, then Summoning Unicorns by Regan E.J. Jackson is a book you should definitely pick up. And those were my 3 off-topic reads for Blackathon. And I know that there's like Blackathon challenges that we're supposed to be doing. I might not get around to those like I thought I would be able to just because of scheduling. But that's neither here nor there. Definitely check out Binti, definitely check out Homegoing, and definitely check out Summoning Unicorns if those are of interest to you and if you trust my judgment on books, which I hope you do since you're here watching my channel. All right, yes, thank you so much for watching. Peace, love, and happy reading. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and have a nice day.